385 days, over a year of conflict, has marked Israel and Gaza. Today, we bring you a conversation between an Israeli reporter from Israel's Channel 14 and a journalist from Gaza named Sammy. In this raw exchange, they discuss the harsh realities of life on both sides and the weight of a conflict that feels impossible to escape. Whether you're familiar with the struggle or hearing about it for the first time, we invite you to listen and reflect. The Israeli reporter said the following: "Good morning, Sammy. Thank you for joining us. Can you share with us what life is currently like in Gaza?" Sammy said the following: "Good morning. Life in Gaza? It's hard to describe. Gaza is just a tiny strip of land, yet 2 million people live here, and we're isolated from the world. There's little food, no steady electricity, and basics like cigarettes are priced far beyond what most people can afford. We're cut off from nearly everything. We're told it's because of Hamas, but that doesn't change our suffering." The Israeli reporter said the following: "Sammy, I understand your frustrations, but Israel also faces an intense struggle. Over 100 families have been held captive by Hamas in Gaza, civilians and soldiers who are separated from their families. I have to ask you, did people in Gaza understand on October 7th that celebrating the tragedy happening in Israel could lead to suffering in Gaza? Did they realize that this would bring devastation in Gaza as well?" Sammy said the following: "Today we understand the impact. Hamas has led us to this place, and we're paying the price every day. You don't live here, I do. I see the rubble, the schools with no supplies, the hospitals that barely function. There's nothing left for us. Rebuilding will take decades, and for most of us here, it feels like there's no way out." "Sammy," said the Israeli reporter, "I understand that this is a difficult situation for you, but for years, Hamas has used Gaza to launch attacks on Israel. A few years back, you mentioned that most young people in Gaza would leave for a better life if given the chance. You even said that if Israel opened its borders, 60 to 70% of Gaza's youth would take that opportunity. So what changed?" Sammy said the following: "People are still desperate. Many would leave if they could, but the borders are closed. The main crossings are blocked. Every day, about 200 Palestinians lose their lives, and hope is fading fast. If the borders are opened, people would leave in a heartbeat. We're exhausted, barely surviving." "Sammy," said the Israeli reporter, "Israel has made efforts to help civilians by providing food, water, and medical supplies to those who need it most. We've even seen the IDF soldiers risking their lives to deliver aid, and yet Hamas continues to launch attacks on Israeli towns. What more do you expect from Israel?" Sammy said the following: "Now that Yahya Sinwar, Hamas's leader, has gone, you can pressure Qatar, demand a ceasefire. Only a ceasefire will bring relief and release the hostages. We've reached our limit." Qatar has been known to provide support to Hamas, and some people believe that they could influence Hamas to negotiate. A ceasefire would mean that both sides temporarily stopped hostilities, but with deep-seated issues on each side, ceasefires can be challenging to uphold. The Israeli reporter said the following: "With Sammy, this conflict began when Hamas demanded the release of Palestinian prisoners from Israeli jails. How much longer are we to endure this? How many more families need to live in fear before both sides can find a solution?" Sammy said the following: "I don't have all the answers, but why should Gaza's civilians suffer? You could use your influence to call for peace, to push for negotiations, to end the blockade. It feels like we're invisible to the world, seen only as a threat." This conversation shows two sides locked in pain and frustration. Sammy, a voice for Gaza's despair, and the Israeli reporter, a voice for Israel's struggle for security, each represent the broader fears and hopes of their people. The Israeli reporter said the following: "Sammy, even if Israel opens every border and provides resources, how can we be sure that Hamas won't continue to use Gaza to launch attacks? We want Gaza's people to have dignity, but we also need to ensure safety for our own people." Sammy says, I understand, but the people of Gaza are trapped in a conflict that most of us didn't choose. We are paying for the decisions of those far away. Why should 2 million people suffer for the choices of a few? Many in Gaza feel caught in the middle of a conflict they cannot control. Hamas's actions have led to isolation, but for everyday Gazans, this reality has deepened hardship and a sense of abandonment. The Israeli soldier reporter said the following: "Sammy, I want to believe that Gaza wants peace, but with leaders who pursue violence, it's hard to see a way forward. Israel doesn't want Gaza as an enemy. We want it to be a neighbor, a place where people can thrive." Sammy says, "Then give us that chance. Let us rebuild, work, and live without fear. This is all Gaza's people want, a chance to have a future." As you listen to Sammy's pleas for survival and the Israeli reporter's questions about security, we ask you, can peace exist where trust is broken? Should borders open, or is security more important? What would you do if you were in their place? In this conflict, the choices are difficult and the stakes are high. If this conversation resonates with you, please remember to like and subscribe to keep these important stories going. And if you wish to show support for Israel and for our channel, you can click the thanks button below. Your support helps us bring more voices to light and share the complex stories that too often go untold. Thank you for standing with us, for supporting Israel, and for joining us in the hope for a brighter future. We appreciate your prayers and all of your concern. Please continue praying for the state of Israel, for our soldiers, and for our hostages that are still being held in Gaza. May we see a quick resolution soon with the release of our hostages and an end to all war and all bloodshed. Thank you very much for watching.
انت عارف انه كل الناس هذه ما حدش لا لاقي شرب واكل.
كلهم بيعانوا.
الوضع صعب، لا تدخل مساعدات.
ما في المساعدات كلها نازله تحت. المساعدات ما بيجوا للامه ولا بيجي للشعب كله. احنا جايين من غزه وكل الدعم بيجي لنا. انا بحكي وما بخافش منهم. انا بحكي لهم كمان. انا كل الدعم بيجي لقطاع غزه.
حج كتير بيوصل، اللي بيوصل إشي قليل وبيتوزع هيك بيحكوا.
كله للبيوت إلهم، خليهم ياخذون ولا يطخون ولا يعملوا بدهم اياه حماس.
حج احنا الان يبدو ان الامور شوي فيها نوع من